Hello, gorgeous soul, and welcome to this epic podcast. This is a place where you are encouraged and you have absolute freaking permission to unapologetically go after all of your dreams, all of your visions, all of your things on your vision board, like everything that your heart desires. I'm your host, Angharad, the High Vibe Babe, and I believe that we're all in this life to expand and experience our wildest dreams. If one of us can have it, then we all can. So that is the aim of this podcast. Each week I'll either be going solo or have guests with the aim to inspire, uplift you and give you the tools for you to live your most epic AF life and business possible. You can find me on Instagram with the handle @HighVibeBabe. Now let's get into today's episode. Hi beautiful, Angharad here. So today I thought I'd talk a little bit in regards to intuitive messages. It's something that I believe we all can have, and if you've been following me around for a little while, then you know I would have released Intuition Institute a couple of times last year, because talking to intuition and being part of the spiritual realm and all the things is something that I've always naturally been able to do. I was born very gifted and was in a family home where it was encouraged, so being tapped in and tuned in is something that comes really natural to me, and I've tested it and was involved with Christianity, and just like there's a lot of background for me in regards to being intuitive and being spiritual. So one of the things that I'm finding people talk about a lot recently, which is really cool, that they are getting messages or inklings or feelings or book outlines or like really, really cool things. It's so epic. And the thing that I, for a long time, in my teenage years or even in my adult life, is I would get a message and then expect to be able to decipher it in the moment or like relatively immediately or be able to clarify it. But it's not like a text message. It's not like when your mum texts you like, can you get milk for dinner? And then you reply back and you're like, do you want 2 or 4 letters? And she replies back straight away and then she's like 3 and you're like, but wait, how does that work? They only sell 2 or 4 and you like text back to clarify. It doesn't work like that. It can, but typically what I find, it's not something to be forced. It's like a creative thing. When you go and paint, when you go write a book, or when you go and decorate a cake or whatever else that you people can do that are creative, if you try and do it when you're in like a very logical, a very human headspace, then it can be quite, it feels forced and you don't get the same result as when you just take a step back and do it when you're on the right energy and when it flows. It's amazing. When it doesn't, you just either sit there and look at it or you just pass it off and go and do something else and think about it, right? So it's the same for these intuitive messages. It's a different language, like the spiritual realm. We are spiritual, don't get me wrong, but it is a different language. We have to translate, and even our feelings sometimes when we're trying to like communicate how we feel, or like, you know, like the deep things going on. Sometimes it could be hard to like find the words for it. It can take a little minute. There's a bit of a lag, and that's because it's different. It's not just explain. It's not just texting mum and getting her to clarify like if you want 2 or 4 liters of milk. It's quite different. So anyway, I believe that we're protected. I believe that if we're meant to get a message and it doesn't feel right, then we can send it back and ask for it to come back in a way that feels better for us. And it's something that I do with my clients. And also, I also believe that when we get a message, there is no rush to understand it or to implement it. There's no huge rush or there's no need to force, because we are a human and God loves us more than we love ourselves, more than we would love our children. And we would have patience with our children if they were trying to translate what we're trying to tell them, right? If we were speaking a different language to them, we would give them grace and time and allow for that and the timing that we choose to like give them the message, right? So I believe it's exactly the same with God, universe, spirit, whatever you want to call it. I believe it's all the same thing. That's what I believe is the same for us. Like, we're allowed the time. We're allowed to go, okay, this doesn't feel quite right, so I'm going to send it back, and if it's meant to be, please bring it back in a way that feels more loving to me, or I can understand better, or at a better time, because now is not a great time, or whatever it is. Like, I believe that's more, it's not this rush, it's not this like strategic stuff, it's not this just, oh, I've got this, now I need to understand it and sit down, nut it out and do 6 pages of journaling around it. Do you know what I mean? It's not a limiting belief you're going to smash out and be like, bye, see you later. Like, those are good to do that too. Like, definitely do it to those, but not necessarily to intuitive messages. It is different for our human doesn't necessarily get why the hell we would begin this message, or when we try and integrate it into our life, right? Like, but then what I found is over time, because I get so many and I act on so many, eventually my human catches up because she sees the results and she's like, oh, we can actually trust this. Oh, this worked out another 300 million squillion times before. So your human begins to, just like when we grow and evolve as people, and I was talking about this the other day, where we change the trajectory of what's capable for our future, like for 2020, when we compare the growth we've had over the last 12 months and we look at what we can do in the next 12 months, we're like, well, what was possible for me 12 months ago compared to now is a much bigger state. It's the same thing with our human. She won't actually understand exactly why it is or be able to rationalize it. However, she'll be able to trust that she can trust it, if you know what I mean. She'll be able to get a semi-glance as to why it could work or why it could be the way it's meant to be without actually knowing details. And yeah, maybe she'll create an actual rationality, like, oh yeah, and piece things together and create a string of events or a string of reasons as to why. But ultimately, your human does learn to trust. It does get easier the more you act on it, and then it turns out the way it was meant to, or you see a lot of value in what happened. I'm wishing you all of the love. Take care. If you have enjoyed this episode, I would adore if you would screenshot it, chuck it up on your stories with your favorite takeaway moment, and tag me at Hi Vibe Babe on Instagram so that more people can see this and get this content and get this message out there to really shape and change and impact other people's lives. Do you desire to be around more high vibe women who really get you, who encourage you, who like support you no matter what? Yeah, well, guess what? I have a place that you belong. It is called High Vibe Babes Community. It is a free Facebook group, and I would love to have you in there. There are so many free trainings and epicness in this group, so please get your booty in there. It would mean the world if you would subscribe to this podcast, do the reviews, the rating, the stars, all of the things. Thank you so much for being here. I cannot wait to chat with you on the next episode. I'm sending you all of the vibes and all of the love. Over and out from her, the High Vibe Babe.